All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Danny Made It. I'm going to let the other guys introduce themselves, but we're going in depth and playoff previews for Class C1 first round. All right, you guys can introduce yourself and where you're from.
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Dettman. I am in Central City. I am the owner and publisher of the Central City Republican Non-Paral, and through that we do RN Sports. So we're out covering the Central City Bison, High Plains Storm, Nebraska Christian Eagles, and wherever else we end up.
All right, now I think you're good to introduce yourself and where you're from and what you do.
Okay. I'm Luke Mchargue, and I play football at Central City. I'm a high school student, and I work broadcasting for the Pastime Sports Network when I'm not playing my sports. And just thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem. Okay, we're going to get right into this because we got a little bit of time. We're going to start with the number 1 and 16. So our first game we're going to go over and preview. We got number 1 Sydney coming in at 9-0 and number 16 Roncalli Catholic at 5-4. I think this game is a lot closer than the seeds indicate. I think that both teams have a good chance in winning this game. What do you guys think?
Oh, I absolutely agree. To me, this is perhaps the most fascinating matchup of the C1 bracket. We got 400 miles between these two teams, two different landscapes completely on who they're playing. And I tell you what, Roncalli, they've had a gauntlet of a schedule to where Sydney, you could look at them and say, who have they played? Well, they took care of business, last week, and defense wins championships. So, that defense of theirs, I think, is, quite phenomenal. They haven't given up very many yards, very many points. They've looked really good, but, Roncalli, I think they're going to give them a tough matchup. It should be a really interesting game.
Going along with your tough defensive claim, they proved it last week against number 1 rusher in Nebraska, holding him to 4.3 yards a pop and no touchdowns in that game. And Roncalli, yeah, of course they've played some crazy teams and they've kept it close with Ashland Greenwood and Lakeview and Boys Town. So I think that this game will be a close one. You got anything for us, Luke?
Yeah, that defense for Sydney is number one in the field out of Class C, allowing just 6.2 points per game. So that's really impressive stuff. So it's going to be tough for Roncalli to score on that Red Raider defense.
So some of the notable players I have is the quarterback matchup. Alex Doty, he had an efficient passing game against the Cardinals last week, and Brady McGill on the season he has 180 or 1,800 passing yards and 16 touchdowns. And Alex Doty can get it done through the ground and the air, so I think that's going to keep Roncalli's defense on check, or you know what I mean. Okay, so and Brady McGill, he's a good passer, so I think this game is going to be a pretty close one. We'll just get to the picks now. I'm going to go number 1 Sydney just because they've showed us they can win, and yeah, that's what I'm picking for them.
I would pick Sydney too. I think Alec Doty is arguably the best quarterback in Class C1 right now, and I think it's just going to be too much for Roncalli to handle.
I love Sydney. I love teams out west. I love how they get overlooked often. But Roncalli, solid passing numbers in the month of October. They have been throwing the ball around. They've been looking good. I think we're going to get an upset. 16 takes down 1. Roncalli beats Sydney. That's my prediction.
I like it. I
No
like it.
offense to Sydney.
All right, we're gonna
All
move
right.
on. We got a number 2 Ashland Greenwood coming in the game at 8-1 versus 6-3 number 15 Milford. I think this game is a really tough game for Milford. Ashland Greenwood's tough schedule gets them rewarded with the second seed over teams like Wahoo that they actually lost to in the regular season. But I think that gauntlet of a schedule they have gave them a reward here, and they're going to go against one of the weaker teams, but not too weak. I think it could be a close game, but you guys have anything for this one?
Yeah, I
I
think
think
Ashland, sorry to talk over you, Luke, but I think Ashland, Greenwood, I think they're battle tested. They're ready to go for the playoffs. They've had a tough schedule, played some tough matchups and, only that one blemish to Wahoo. So, I really like Ashland. I think Milford benefited, from a weaker schedule a little bit. I think there's some teams out there that are better teams that missed the playoffs. No knock on Milford. Great community. I was fortunate enough to go there this year. Stopped in at their little sports bar they have there. Tremendous food. Love everything about Milford, but I don't think they have what it takes to beat Ashland this year.
yeah, it's going to be tough for Milford to keep it competitive with Ashland Greenwood. I think Ashland is just a lot better team than Milford at this stage, and I think it's a good season for Milford on the whole. Uh, Good record, probably improved a little bit from last year, something they can try to build on for next year. But I think in this case, it's all Ashland Greenwood.
Yeah, on this for Ashton Greenwood, I've said whenever I went to their game this year, I said that they have really good 1-2 punch at receiver with Thomas Spears and Kissinger. I think that it's just going to be way too much, like you said, Luke. I think Ashton Greenwood is going to run away with this one. All right, we're going to head over to number 3, Wahoo 9-0 versus number 14, DC West. Wahoo's already won against DC West 50-0. And yeah, so what do you guys got for this one?
Yeah, it's hard to beat a team twice, but not if you're Wahoo. you know, um, I think DC West has their hands full in this one. I'm not ready to give Wahoo that championship trophy just yet, but it might turn to that point as we progress through the playoffs. They are a very solid team, DC West. All credit to them. They've played well this season. They had a big win last week, and I think that's kind of where the luck runs out, and a fortunate draw for them. I think anybody who was getting fed to Wahoo in that first round was destined to pack their bags and head home. So I look for it to be a tough night for DC West, but kudos to them on a great season, and anything can happen. So it'll be exciting to see regardless.
Yeah, it's a really tough draw for DC West. Wahoo average margin of victory on the season 45.7 points. So they've just ran through everybody on their schedule, and it's going to be more of the same against DC West.
Yeah, DC West actually started this season at the top of the rankings, and most people counted them in for against Wahoo in that first game they played. But obviously, things didn't go their way, and if they want a chance to win this game, they're going to have to stop Kip Brigham, and even then, the Wahoo's offense is very dangerous. So I'm going to take Wahoo in this one. They're going to advance. All right. Number 4 seed Columbus Lakeview 9-0 versus number 13 Scotus Catholic at 6-3. Another game where both of these teams have squared off. And this one was relatively recent. They did it 2 weeks ago, I believe, and that game ended up at 26-22, and it came down to the last play interception. What do
Yeah,
you
this is a matchup I'm really looking forward to watching. Rematch between these two schools, and I've heard that these teams really do not like each other. Lakeview and SCOTUS is a pretty big rivalry for them in the city of Columbus. Uh, it's going to be a dogfight. I think this is going to be one of the most interesting matchups to watch.
I absolutely agree. This matchup excites me a lot. And as you said, Luke, these kids have been battling each other since they run that KFO football battleground there in Columbus. And, a lot of history between these two teams being, across town, playing each other, coming up the ranks, other sports as well. It's going to be an exciting matchup. And, earlier I said it's hard to beat a team twice. Well, that could play into SCOTUS's favor in this one. Lakeview, they've had a great season, still unblemished. SCOTUS could be the team to hand them that first loss. Unfortunately, it could be in the playoffs to end their season. So I am very excited to see how this one turns out. And I already used my upset pick earlier. So I think Lakeview gets it done this time. I think they have enough to get through this round at least.
Hey, yeah, we'll move on to your picks, Luke. You got this.
Man, this one's really tough, but I might go with the upset here. I'm going to take SCOTUS over Lakeview in the rematch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another close game, but I trust their coach. Their coach is widely known as one of the best in the state. I think that last game I got the chance to see them, so I maybe know a little bit more about how this dynamic goes. Pass rushing wise, I thought SCOTUS held up very well against Lakeview, and I think that they're going to get a little more creative, maybe send some pressure, send some blitzers. And I think that if they can stop Wrestle from getting the pass, which they had some success with last game, I think that Lakeview is going to take it, and I trust them that they're going to run the ball, get the ball into Deanda and Tensky's hands, and I think they're going to truck through this one and make it to the next round. And now we got guys, hometown guys, Central City 8-1, taking on number 12 Fort Calhoun 6-3. We'll start with somebody else here. What do you guys got for this one?
Luke, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, obviously this is my team, but yeah, Central City really dynamic on offense this year. Second highest scoring offense in the field for Class C1. And it's just a triple threat of Parker Zickman, Corbin Keyes, and Wyatt Dent on offense. Keyes, fresh off a record-setting 433-yard performance against Aurora, so that was really impressive to watch, and I think it's a pretty good draw for them. Central City, Fort Calhoun coming off of a loss to DC West, and matchup where these two teams saw each other last year. Central City came out on top, so I think it's a good draw for Central City, and I think it's going to be a pretty big statement win for Central City.
I would definitely agree with Luke there. Looking at this matchup, 153 is the number I wrote down. That's how many points up or how many points Fort Calhoun has given up this season. So their strength lies within their defense and the ability to keep teams out of the end zone. However, there's been very few chances to keep Central City out of the end zone this year. It seems like if you can shut down the passing game, keep the ball out of Wyatt Dent's hand, well, then Corbin Kai scores 6 touchdowns and runs for 433 yards. So, that triple-headed monster that Central City has. And, kudos to Troy Hubert. I don't know if anybody ever would have thought that he would have such a prolific rushing attack, after all the years of throwing the ball around, going back to the bomb squad of 2015, that era. Just some really good offensive numbers on the passing side of things. But this year they can hit you anyway, and I think that will be too much for that Fort Calhoun defense to withstand, even though they've had a great year and really have kept teams in check, most of the season.
Yeah, this offense is crazy. This is one of the offenses that I kind of missed out this year, and I hope I can get to see him one time in person. But this offense is crazy. Zickman has 27 touchdown passes on the year, and Wyatt Dent has 105 receiving yards a game, and then Kais has 151 rushing per game. So that offense can really just kill you anywhere, and I think it's going to be too much for Fort Calhoun to handle. I got Central City in this one. All right, the next game we have number 6 Boys Town versus number 11 Cozad. Boys Town 8-1, Cozad 7-2. And just like you guys said earlier with a killer 3, I think Boys Town has a killer 3. Darian Whitaker, one of the best athletes in the state. He leads his team in rushing yards, touchdowns, and tackles. Lindanian Blackwell also a problem. And Marcus Gray, the tight end, he's very tall. He's a very good traits guy. And I think that this top 3 is pretty rivaling against Central City. So I'm interested in this Boys Town team. I think that if they can really just put it together, they can be one of the best rosters in C1.
Yeah, Darian Whitaker, if I remember right, Kansas State commit to play college ball at the next level. This is a really good team for in Boys Town, and they got a really tough opponent, though, with Cozad. Cozad obviously played Central City earlier in the year, came out on top, one of the better wins out of the teams in the Class C field. And I really like their quarterback, Noah Shoemaker. He's one of the best in the field as well. This is going to be a really fun matchup to watch. And another one of the matchups I think is going to be a closer game. And I think Cozad, if they play their best game, they're going to have to rely on Noah Shoemaker, but they could potentially pull off this upset. I know it's a long drive for them too, with I think it's 4 hours, maybe. I wrote it down somewhere. 3-hour drive for Cozad to Boys Town, but yeah.
Definitely. You know, Luke hit the nail on the head there with Kozad. It is the Noah Shoemaker show. And that kid, I don't know if I can ever count him out. You know, he's a gamer. He's a kid that you want with the ball in his hand or, you know, kicking a game winning PAT, you know, whatever the scenario is going to be. You know, Noah Shoemaker's a kid that can step up and deliver in high pressure situations. He's proved that against Central City and back to back years, and he still haunts my dreams on occasion. So, just a really talented kid. Wish him the best. Yeah, I think Boys Town, though, I think it's going to be too much for him. I agree with Luke. I think Kozan can give him some fits, and I think they can get out of it with the upset victory. But my prediction, and I'd see Boys Town coming away with a win, but Kozad playing a really solid game.
Yeah, going along with a little bit more on this game. Noah Shoemaker, I wrote down some stuff. He's really good dual threat quarterback. And before that Central City game, I kind of acknowledged Kozad as a run heavy team, and I was very surprised that they had 8 touchdowns through the air or something crazy like that. Yeah, so I was just surprised to me, and his targets are Oliver Davis and Boston Irish. Those guys are good. And I think that Boys Town needs to be very disciplined, and I think that I trust the coaches that they will be. So I got Boys Town. And here's another interesting game. Number 7, Auburn 8-1 versus number 10, O'Neill. I'm going to let someone else start in this one. What do you guys got?
Yeah, so this one, another one of those that you circle, you're going to be checking scores at or on if you're not at that game. Just a really interesting matchup, and an Auburn team that has played a really good season, an O'Neill team that's played a really good season. I'm really excited to see this matchup. Auburn has that win over Lincoln Christian, who's in the playoffs. They've beat teams. O'Neill, same thing. Just really talented rosters. And I'll turn it over to somebody else. I lost my notes.
Yeah, this is going to be a matchup where we might be able to hear the pads popping here in Central City. These two teams combined for less than 1,000 yard passing. They both just want to punch you in the mouth and run the football the entire game. So it's going to be a physical matchup. And I think this is a really good Auburn team, and I think they're going to make a statement in this one. And I think they're going to beat O'Neill handily, actually.
Yeah, on the opposite side, I think these guys are both similar tier teams. I like O'Neill's defense a lot, led by the Matthews brothers. I think they're very physical, and I think that some of the teams that Auburn actually has played, they've taken advantage of the poor tackling, and I think that O'Neill is just a better tackling team than some of those guys. So yeah, I like an angry O'Neill team on this one. I'm taking O'Neill. And our final game in the bracket is number 8 Shatter and 7-2 versus number 9 Lincoln Christian 7-2. You guys have some familiarity with Lincoln Christian. What do you guys think on this game?
Yeah, this is a really good Lincoln Christian team. We witnessed them play in Central City and gave Central City all they could have. And these are two really good rushing attacks. I already touched on it with O'Neill and Auburn, but these two teams have no interest in throwing the football. They just want to run it the whole game. And Lincoln Christian, with its unique, almost military academy-esque offense with the 2 wings and the fullback, Legren, who's rushed for over 1,000 yards this year, and then Quinn Bailey, obviously top running back in C1 right now with over 2,000 yards rushing. This is going to be a really interesting one to watch.
Yeah, my note on this one is one sentence: can Bailey be stopped? That's my only question. When you look at Lincoln Christian, their offense can run with anybody. I'm pretty convinced of that. As Luke said, tremendous back in their own right. So my biggest question is, can they stop Bailey? And yeah, I really think they can enough to allow their offense to make some plays. And I'm taking Lincoln Christian in this one. I think they're going to get it done. It's going to be a close matchup, and really really exciting for fans of old school football. That's for sure. If you grew up watching the Huskers of yesteryear, you would love this football game because it's going to be ground and pound and really exciting. But I think Lincoln Christian's going to do just enough to get it done.
Yeah, I view this game as a running back battle. Although it is a wing T type of offense, so you kind of take a little bit of grain of salt. Not any uh disclaims on their running game, but I like Quinn Bailey. He has a 242 rushing yards per game, which is just crazy. So I got Shattering in this one.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Christian's. I'm with Ryan on this one. I think Lincoln Christian's going to pull it off. Shadron does have the advantage. It's a 6.5 hour drive from Lincoln to Shadron, so uh, long road trip. But I think Lincoln Christian comes out with the win.
All right, and that's going to conclude our playoff preview and picks. But we do have another segment here. We got a fantasy football segment where we are going to be picking a quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, and a tight end and a flex position out of Class C1 football players. And I'll keep track of that. And we're going to have a little bit of a friendly competition and see who can build the best squad for this first round of playoffs. So, how this is going to work, we're just going to go, it's a snake draft. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. And we're going to start, and I'm going to give Ryan the first pick here, and then I'll take the last one. So you got the second one. So first pick, who are you going with?
First pick is tough. There's the brains and the heart battling each other here. So, first pick of somebody this first round, I just can't talk myself out of picking my man Corbin Guys. I got to go home cooking. So I don't care if he you know, played linebacker only. I would still pick him for an offensive player. He's just a dude I want to see hit people. So there's my first pick.
All right, Luke, you're next. Who are you
Um,
going?
I'm going to be a bit of a homer too, and I'm going to take Wyatt Dent, wide receiver from Central City. Obviously, I think he's the best receiver in the playoffs for Class C1, and Fort Calhoun's going to be doing everything they can to stop Corbin after what he did against Aurora last week, and I think that's going to open the door for Wyatt Dent just to wreak havoc on the Pioneer secondary.
Yeah, those are good picks, and I'm really surprised that Quinn Bailey is right here. So I'm just going to go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm putting Quinn Bailey on my team, and since it's a snake draft, I have another pick here, and I'm going to go with Kip Brigham of Wahoo at my other running back. So I'm filled up at running back. And Luke, you're up now again.
Um, I'm going to go out to Sydney. I'm going to take their quarterback, Alec Doty. I really like what he can do both in the air and on the ground. I think he's going to have a really big game against Roncalli.
Now I feel like Luke and I are both going to be at, SOL on this one because you had two really good picks. So, but I'm going to go Noah Shoemaker. I think he's just a kid. Like I said, he haunts my dreams already watching him slay the Bison a couple years. So, a kid that I think very highly of, tremendous football player. So, Noah Shoemaker there at Cozad.
Yeah, he's my number one quarterback in my big board I made here. So since it's a snake draft, you got another pick. Who you picking next, right after Noah Shoemaker?
Oh, that's a good question. Go Landon Riddle, Sydney.
Good pick.
All right, Luke, you're up.
Um, Man, there's some good options on the board. Uh, I'm going to go over to Lincoln Christian. I'm going to take their fullback in the wing T, Asa Weggers in against Shadron.
That's another good pick. He was relatively high on my big board, but I'm going to go with Darian Whitaker from Boys Town, the K State commit. I'm taking him for my flex spot. And then my next pick, I will be taking Thomas Spears for my number one receiver. Go Ashland Greenwood, one of the best route runners in the state. And now back to Luke.
Um, I'm going to take, let's see. I'll take Maxwell Thompson from Ron Colley, wide receiver.
And now for Ryan, you got 2 picks in a row here.
Luke's a jerk. That's who I was going to pick. I'm okay. It's Oliver Davis on the board.
Yes, he is.
Perfect. All right. So I got Shoemaker. So might as well give him somebody to go to. So let's go Oliver Davis. Kozad.
Was that your second pick? Or was that your first?
Oh, that was my first. Yeah, 2 in a row.
That was first.
Yep.
All right. How about Brady Eichelberger, O'Neill?
Good pick. Time. We'll get that on there. The results. All right. So, Luke, you're up after that pick. He picked Brady Eichelberger with his second.
Yeah, that was his last pick. I'm gonna go with Cale Smith, running back for Ashland Greenwood. I think Ashland Greenwood's gonna be running the ball a lot in the second half against Milford. They're gonna have a pretty big lead.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just take all of Ashland Greenwood's receiving output, and I'm going to take Cal Kissinger with that pick, and then my second pick, I'm going to take Marcus Gray from Boys Town, the tight end.
Dang.
And you're up again, Luke.
Who are some of the best tight ends available up there? Because I just have receivers. I don't know which ones are tight ends and which ones are receivers.
Eli Shada from Wahoo and Bryson Wright is what I have on mine.
I'll take Bryson Wright.
All right, from Shadron. And
Yeah.
you're up. Ryan, you got 2 picks.
Anybody taking Nolan Asher?
Don't believe so.
Then I'm going to take Nolan Asher, DC West.
And your next one.
Is this my final pick?
I believe so.
I think it is too. My final pick, I'm going to pick a guy that I believe in very much. A guy who's going to score me 0 points, but it's worth it out of principle. My final pick, my Mr. Relevant, Luke Mchargue.
You got a little bit of inside joke here, I guess. What's going on here?
Luke's stat production is not quite where it is with the rest of the guys on the list, but
Hey,
good kid, and I want him on my team.
Maybe he'll get you a touchdown or 2. All right. All right, Luke, who's you got for your last pick?
We have is Boston Irish still on the board?
I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Boston Irish from Kozad.
Then my final pick, you'd never believe with 2 Central City guys. I'm taking quarterback Parker Zickman just because there's only 3 quarterbacks taken, but I'm taking your guys' guy, Parker Zickman. Hopefully he gets me 8 touchdown passes in this one. And
hey, that's my guy. I call him easy peasy. He goes out there, does this thing, full of swag. Just a great kid. So great pick.
All right, guys. So thank you guys for all coming in, tuning in, and thanks for Ryan and Luke for coming in and doing this and making this possible. So we'll see you next week, and hopefully Central City gets a good win so these guys come in happy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was great. And, I wish you the best luck with everything that you have going on.
You too.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. It was fun.
No problem. All right, guys. Well, thanks. Thanks for coming in. This was fun. And I will get all this recorded and edited up. It should be out by Monday night, maybe.